This is Sports Weekly.
Hello and welcome inside Sports Weekly. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we have got plenty of stuff to talk about today. We've got NFL, some NBA drama as usual, but first we're going to start off with some college basketball. As usual, we have three things for both college basketball and NBA. So starting off with March Madmen, Jason's three things.
Yeah, so little Big Ten bias here. Two of my first three are about the Big Ten. But first, Ballin' Boilers, not Bortles. We'll talk about that later. Purdue doesn't have a ton of great wins this season, but its best victory was coming over Arizona in the Bahamas. But the Boilermakers have 6 Group 1 RPI wins, and really, they are just rolling. That is tied for the most in the country, and they haven't lost since Thanksgiving and have won their past 3 games by an average of 28.3 points. They have absolutely slaughtered teams, and they are balling. Number 2, surprise! Ohio State has taken the college basketball world by surprise. Chris Holtmann is definitely in the mix for National Coach of the Year as the Buckeyes are 8-0 in Big Ten play. The craziest part? The next 4 games are at home, which means they could be 12-0 on their schedule going into a big game at Purdue on February 7th. They are by far the biggest surprise in college basketball. And number 3, no hometown discount for you. Not a great week for Clemson, despite beating Notre Dame on Saturday. Remember, Notre Dame was a top 3 team before they lost Bonzie Colson. They moved to 16-3 overall. So where's the bad news? The Tigers lost out on Zion Williamson as he stunned the recruiting world by choosing Duke. Really, I was hoping he was going to stay hometown, either Clemson or South Carolina, give that hometown discount. But on Sunday, we also found out that Dante Grantham also suffered a torn ACL and is done for the season, the second leading scorer and rebounder.
Yeah, rough for Clemson. Duke now has the top 3
and
recruits
10.
in the nation.
Yeah, just like this year. They have top 4 and 15, I think it is. Now it's top 4 in the top 10. Duke. Coach K, what a crazy recruiter.
Yeah. All right, my first thing, Villanova is number 1, and they are rolling 18-1 on the season, and there's only one more ranked team on the schedule. That's Xavier, who they beat by 24 earlier this season. Brunson and Bridges averaging 36 points a game, those two leading the charge for the Wildcats.
Is the game at Xavier or is it home for Xavier? Do you know?
It's at Xavier, I believe.
So,
a little bit
tough
of a chance,
game, but I mean, you beat them by 24 at home. I think they're going to have a little confidence going into that one.
Yeah, Villanova could very much win out
That's crazy.
The rest of their schedule. Another Wildcats team, though, Arizona is back. They won 4 straight after their crazy 3-game losing streak earlier this year in that tournament. And then they also only have one ranked team left on their schedule, and that's Arizona State, who's kind of fallen off the cliff a little bit. And then, Trier and Aiden, another nice duo. They are averaging 40 points a game, and Arizona back at number 14, and they're going to keep climbing the rankings. And I've got 3 Wildcats today. Kentucky is out of the top 25 for the first time since 2014 after losing last week to South Carolina and Florida. And maybe they can figure some things out before the tournament, but this team is extremely young, and they are just not gelling well together. Calipari's got some things to figure out.
Yeah, I never really bought into the Kentucky hype this year. They just don't have that guy this year. We saw it with Karl Anthony Towns, and even Willie Cauley-Stein was enough to make them do things. They don't have that guy this year. They have guys that'll step up, but not enough consistency for the Wildcats. You mentioned Arizona Wildcats. Think about it. If you can somehow convince DeAndre Ayton to stay, I know you probably can't. You got Sharif O'Neal coming in. Ooh. Arizona, good team in the next few years, along with Duke, as we're talking about recruiting a little bit.
Yeah, and you never know with Kentucky, though. Remember, a few years ago, they were the 8th seed in the tournament, won that one. So maybe Calipari can figure some things out, but they are in a world of hurt right now. That's going to do it today for March Madmen. Let's move over to the professional ranks and talk about some NBA and around the association. welcome back to Around the Association. Obviously, we also have 3 things to talk about. Jason, what are yours?
Atlanta is better than Golden State. The worst team in the league is better than the best team. That's what I'm hearing. And Atlanta has won each of its past 2 games decided by 3 points or fewer at home against the Pelicans and the Spurs. 2 good West teams. Still not buying it? Don't worry. They lost 6 straight games a while ago, decided by 1 possession. But since December 23rd, that's a while ago, almost a month, the Hawks have fewer home losses, only 2, than the Warriors do with 3 and play 5 of their next 6 at Phillips Arena. Hawks should be the number 1 seed. Number 2, the clutch gene in Brooklyn. Spencer Dinwiddie hit the game-winning floater with 1.1 seconds left to beat the Pistons on Sunday. Brooklyn's getting used to seeing these shots. Whew, you remember these days as the Nets have made 5 of their last 10 go-ahead attempts. Remember Joe Johnson, Brooke Lopez, Randy Foye, and now Spencer Dinwiddie. 5 of their last 10 and go-ahead attempts in the final 2 seconds by 4 different players.
Well, you see, it's too bad that none of the players besides Spencer Dinwiddie are actually still on their team.
I'm just saying, they're getting used to it. Every year I feel like we have these. They still have D'Angelo Russell, who I think he's famous for ice in his veins. So the clutch genes in Brooklyn. Number 3, Dylan, don't do it to him. Will Damian Lillard finally make the All-Star team this week? He already has 2 seasons in which he averaged over 25 points per game without receiving an All-Star nod. Should he do it again, Lillard would be the only player in NBA history with 3 such seasons to his name. His career scoring average is the highest ever by a player with 2 or fewer All-Star selections. I swear, if he does not get on the All-Star team again, they need to change it until he makes it, because there is no way that Damian Lillard's not an All-Star.
All right, we will see about that. My first thing is going to be about Tony Parker, who just lost his starting job to DeJounte Murray, the Spurs' young point guard, and Parker's been struggling a little bit this year. His age is finally catching up to him, and lost his starting job this week. Spurs still 30-18, 3rd place in the West, though, so they're still rolling, even though Parker's struggling a little bit. And another thing with the Spurs, it's going to be my second thing, Kawhi Leonard's injury. I mean, what happened to him? He played in a few games this season, but since then has been completely out of it. Apparently, he's not happy with some people in the Spurs organization over some disagreements over his injury. So, I mean, Kawhi Leonard just completely disappearing right now. And my last thing, the Bucks fired Jason Kidd earlier this week. Apparently, he was at odds with a lot of people in the organization, a lot of disagreements, and actually, Giannis called him 15 minutes before he knew that he was going to get fired and tried to save his job, tried to say that he'd talk to the owners, the management, whatever, to keep him there. So now you got to wonder, is Giannis going to be happy once it comes free agency time?
Yeah, so you mentioned that with Kawhi, and as soon as you talked about it, the first thing that popped into my head is I remember the Shaquille O'Neal thing back in the early 2000s where he got hurt, and his whole thing was, I got hurt on company time, so I'm going to get recovered on company time, and did not get healed in the offseason. I don't know what the disagreements are. They haven't been public, but you remember Kawhi was out all summer with this, and all they said, I think it was a calf injury was what the diagnostics were. There's no reason he should be out that long. Maybe that's what it is. I don't really know, but I was thinking the same thing. Could this be a doom with the Patriots? I know that rumor came out a few weeks ago. Obviously, they're balling, but Patriots and the Spurs, you get Parker and Ginobili to retire. Kawhi leaves. I don't know. And then with the Bucks, especially if Giannis leaves, the NBA could have an interesting next few years ahead of them if these stars keep being disgruntled in their originally drafted team.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for Around the Association today. But now it's time to talk about the championship rounds, a little bit of Super Bowl preview, but we get to more of that next week too in Friday Night Football. All right, welcome back to Friday Night Football. It was a big weekend in football, the conference championships. Patriots come back in the 4th quarter to beat the Jags. We know all of Jason's Jags predictions, so not feeling good about that. And then the Eagles, to everyone's surprise, just completely demolished the Vikings, 38-7.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
been a bad year for me in the state of Florida. I picked Florida State, win the national championship, didn't happen. I picked the Jaguars to win it, only in the conference championship. I didn't pick them to win it like in the beginning. But still, 0-2 in the state of Florida. But really, the Eagles games would surprise me. I remember we were talking before the game started, this could be an ugly one, and we were talking about the Vikings killing the Eagles, and it was just the complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, thought it would be kind of a close defensive battle, but really just the Eagles came out, had a couple of turnovers early, and then really just used that momentum and kept on going throughout the game, put up 38 points. But let's get to some awards. Who is your MVP of the division, or not the division, the championship round, Jason?
I'm going to go with the most valuable people, not the player. You know who it is? The New England referees. It was unbelievable. This is not any Jaguars bias right here. This is just facts. This has happened throughout the entire season where New England has constantly gotten these called. 6 penalties for 98 yards against the Jaguars. Okay, not bad. 1 penalty for 10 yards on a kickoff for the Patriots. Stephon Gilmore did not get called for a pass interference against D.D. Oh my goodness, against D.D. Westbrook on the 4th down pass late in the game. Yes, Bortles should have made the throw, but there's one example of it.
That was a
crucial
great defensive
missed call.
play.
No, it was not. 32-yard pass interference call against Boye late in the first half that set up a touchdown. Another missed call. And number 3, Patriots receiver Danny Amendola in the middle of the 3rd quarter went and just headbutted to Sean Gibson right in front of the referees. Those 3 plays completely summarize how the Patriots season and how this is going. We see it every single week. Twitter blows up about it, and it has just gotten to a point where it's unreal. You already have Brady and Belichick, but when you have the refs on your side too, they're not going to lose. I was so disappointed with that. They had 1 penalty, like I said. That is the fewest in a playoff game since 2011. Since who got it? Oh yeah, the Patriots in a victory over Baltimore. I was completely disappointed with the referees. No, Jacksonville still let the Patriots get back. I'm not blaming on the loss, but it took the game away from the game where it should have been Patriots, Jags, not Patriots and getting help. The Patriots are already the best team in football. They don't need the referees helping them every single week, and it's been obnoxious.
All right. We will see about that in the Super Bowl. I'm sure all eyes will be on that.
They will be.
So we'll keep an eye out for it then. My MVP, though, Nick Foles. 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, 141.8 passer rating. And like I said, he had a couple of Vikings turnovers early, used that as some momentum, and just kept on rolling, pounded the Vikings 38-7. Nick Foles stepping in for Carson Wentz and getting the job done in the playoffs.
Where'd Nick Foles go to college?
Arizona.
And Michigan State. He was a freshman at Michigan State, threw 8 passes, and then transferred to Arizona. And I saw a lot of Twitter beef going back and forth because you know how Brady didn't play much at Michigan? Michigan State fans were like, at Michigan, is this how it's done, claiming quarterbacks that didn't really play for us? You get Brady, we get Foles. So lots of good Twitter conversation by the Michigan State fans with Foles making it to the Super Bowl.
All right, what about your least valuable player, though, Jason?
You highlighted the game, the Vikings defense. Where have they been? Since halftime of the divisional round, so halftime of the Saints game, the Vikings have been outscored 62-19. You remember Breeze's big comeback and then all of the game. They allowed the most first half points of the season, 24. The longest passing touchdown of the season, 53 yards, allowed their first defensive touchdown of the season, and committed their first red zone turnover of the season, all in the first half. And if you can't do anything right in the first half and you already have that big of a lead going into the second, there was no way they were coming back. The Vikings defense absolutely killed them, and it's not like the offense helped.
Yeah, my least valuable player, but really coaching, is the Jags' late game play calling. In the 4th quarter, they took a 20-10 lead and had the ball. They tried to run it every single first down, no big gains. Then on 2nd down, this is 4 times, they threw the ball, only had 1 completion, and each time they snapped it with 9 or more seconds on the play clock still to go. And then on 3rd down, again, they passed it all 4 times, and they only had 1 completion. So the Jags, really just too many 3-and-outs late, not good play calling. If you're going to run out the clock, run out the clock. they did not manage that right and allow the Patriots to get back into that game and eventually win it.
I have no issue with the play calling except for the first down thing you mentioned. You should not run the ball every first down, throw it one, and then hand it off on second down. Besides that variation where it's just consistent is the only issue I have. I don't have an issue throwing. I mean, that's execution. I'm not blaming that on the play calling. I'm blaming that on Bortles and the receivers, the offensive line, all that. That's execution.
You've got to make something on Bortles.
You've got to make those passes. I mean, it wasn't the coaching staff. You give the ball to his hands, and he didn't make the plays, and receivers didn't get open. I mean, it's always more than one person. I didn't hate the play call except for, like you said, just the consistency of run, pass, pass, run, pass, pass. It was just got repetitive, and it never was successful.
I mean, you just got to be consistent. Either decide to run out the clock or just keep going like you've been going all game. Got to pick one of the two. Jags messed that one up late. What's your biggest surprise from the division or the championship route again?
I'm going to go with the Patriots running game. I was really surprised because obviously I was on the Jags hype train. We all know that. But if the Pats were going to beat them, it was going to have to be on the run. The Jags coming into the playoffs had the 22nd best rush defense, which isn't great. Number 1 pass defense. So I thought, okay, this could be a game where James White gets 2 or 3 touchdowns, Burkhead gets 1. Not much of Brady. And we saw not much of Brady, but then in that fourth quarter, it was all Brady. The running game finished 19 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown. That was half my surprise. The other half, Amendola came up clutch, and it was crazy. He just had the game of his career, and is a big reason why the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. And the refs are probably in there too.
Gronk, though, I mean, he was he went out in the first half.
Yeah.
Amendola stepped up, got the job done for the Patriots. My biggest surprise, though, the Vikings could only put up 7 points on offense. Obviously, the defense was horrible, giving up 38 too. But the Vikings offense, I mean, you thought they'd maybe at least ride the high a little bit from the divisional round miracle to get more points than just the opening drive. They scored 7 points on the opening drive, a touchdown, and then after that, just could not get anything going. Couple turnovers from Keenum, and the Vikings really lost that game.
Yeah, Thielen came out later and said he was hurt playing. Because I thought for sure Thielen or Diggs, you can beat Jalen Mills if you are consistent. He still is not a lockdown corner yet. I was really waiting to see them expose it, and they never did. Thielen only 3 catches, I think, for 28 yards, and really just underwhelmed.
All right, let's move on to some head coaching stuff. We haven't been able to talk about it yet. All the big hires because of the playoffs going on. But what's your favorite hire so far of the head coaching?
Before we start, we're going to use all of the information we have as of Tuesday, where we assume McDaniels is hired, we assume Coach Wilkes is hired in Arizona, and we assume Shermer is with the Giants. So we'll just have all that so in case anything changes throughout the week. We've made that clear. That's all we have. Those are the latest hirings. So my favorite hire, Coach Gruden for the Raiders. As a Raider fan, I had to go here. I am nervous, as if you follow our sports sim, and I've put out there multiple times, but I think it comes together. I really am trusting in what Chucky's doing in Oakland, and if he can put it together, I'm excited. I think he can put the Raiders in Super Bowl contention again, and I know it sounds crazy after how bad they looked last season, but it was only 8 months ago that we were consistently saying if the Raiders just lock up on D, they could be in the Super Bowl. So I think Chucky comes in and is a big difference to Oakland.
All right, we will see. My favorite hire for my Indianapolis Colts, though, Josh McDaniels, the most highly touted head coach of this cycle this year. McDaniels comes from Belichick. He's going to bring the short passing game to Andrew Luck, hopefully get the ball out earlier, not as many injuries. McDaniels, Andrew Luck really hasn't had an offensive coach. It's all been Chuck Pagano since he's come into the league. I'm excited for what McDaniels is going to do for the Colts offense and Andrew Luck.
All right,
let's move on to our least favorite hire. I have a feeling that Jason disagrees.
I do very much disagree. And before I say it, I'd like to say that I could be very wrong here, and I hope McDaniels works out for everyone that's local here. I hope he does work out and he takes you places. But right now, I'm not optimistic, and this is one of my rants again, so excuse me. The Patriots offense led the league in scoring in 2007, 2012, and ranked in the top 10 in all 9 of Coach McDaniels' seasons as New England's offensive coordinator, 2006, 2008, and 2012 to 2017. He didn't do that. That was Brady and Belichick.
How do
cannot
know
give.
How do you know that?
Okay, so you don't want to count that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So we say that was all McDaniels. Well,
I didn't say it
in
was
his
all
one
McDaniels.
season as
he deserves
offensive
some credit, though.
Okay, then he deserves credit for this as well. In one season as an offensive coordinator in St. Louis, McDaniels guided 2011 Rams off a cliff, last in the NFL in points, next to last in yards, and he had the number 1 overall pick, Sam Bradford's second year in the NFL, and he posted career low totals in passer rating, quarterback rating, and completion percentage. So you either got to take the good with the good or the bad with the bad. Yes, this is a lottery pick, and you've got the second guy, Andrew Luck. How many seasons he played? 4? 3 healthy, and then 1 more?
4 healthy, I believe.
1 more?
At least
Okay.
3.5 probably.
Okay, so somewhere in that range. He's still not developed fully. So
He's not developed fully. I mean,
do you think this is his prime right now?
He came into his rookie year and led the Colts to the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think he's
You thought that was his prime?
No, and that's not
That's
his
what I'm
prime,
saying.
but he's already that good. I mean,
But I'm saying he's not developed. He's not done yet. Like, he's still growing. And so I am cautious with what he did with Sam Bradford, that now looking back, he still has had his career lows under McDaniels. So I'm concerned about that. But let's move on to when he was head coach, right? His tenure in Denver was so toxic. He clashed with players that were the biggest names. Jay Cutler, his quarterback, receiver, Brandon Marshall, tight end Tony Sheffield, and even a coach that we know of, defensive coordinator Mike Nolan. Coach McDaniels went 11-17 and was fired during his second season in Denver. But that all sounds great, but why did he get fired? It was a week after the NFL fined McDaniels after one of his staffers caught illegally videotaping an opponent. So, Colts fans, if Belichick cheated in Spygate, your new head coach cheated this time. So, I have zero confidence in Coach McDaniels.
so you have 0 confidence in Belichick then, because he cheated too.
Well, what's the biggest thing that Colts fans say? Patriots are cheaters, so Colts are cheaters too. Is all I'm saying. If you're cool being labeled the cheaters, you're not gonna. You don't have the talent that the Patriots
just
have.
to be clear, McDaniels did not order his staffer.
You
to do
cannot
that.
say
He just
that.
didn't report it.
Okay, you cannot say he did not report it, or he didn't order it. You cannot prove he did not order that.
That's
Belichick, same thing with
that's reports that
Belichick.
came
It's
out.
no different than Belichick.
Belichick
no
did
different.
order it, though.
You have no proof that, but McDaniels didn't. You cannot say they're different. So that's all I'm saying. You've got to take the good with the bad. If you want to count the Patriots' greatness, you've got to count the Rams' badness. If you want to count the cheating with Belichick, you've got to count the cheating that McDaniels did.
There's a
all
lot-
in all, I do not trust McDaniels. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's matured in 10 years where he's been back with the Patriots and has had time, but I don't buy it. And I'm Colts fans. Better hope Andrew Luck comes healthy and comes out good, because I'm not sure McDaniels will be doing too much for him.
I'm just saying he has a lot more years of greatness than the years of bad. But
He also had Brady.
All right, we'll see. My worst hire or keeping is going to be Marvin Lewis. The Bengals really need a fresh start. They need someone else to come in. Marvin Lewis has been there way too long. They probably just need a whole restart on the roster too. Is Andy Dalton ever going to get you to a Super Bowl? I say no. Marvin Lewis and the Bengals really need to part ways. Bengals need to find a new, fresh face to lead their organization, not keep going with the same with Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, I was going to go Coach Lewis, but then I just keep looking back at their roster. They're not that young. They can be young in the next few years. So I look at it as this is your waiver. You've got, wasn't it a 2-year contract?
Mm-hmm.
You got a 2-year contract. I think they bring back Dalton for 2 years, and you let those two pair up for 2 more years. If they don't get it done, you cut the cord and rebuild. But right now, they're not really in a position to rebuild. You have Joe Mixon, John Ross, kind of. AJ Green going to the end of his prime. You don't want to put AJ McCarron with him. So really, I just think I agree it was not smart. Like, I wouldn't have done it, but just looking, the reason I didn't go with it as my worst hire is because the Bengals aren't ready to rebuild yet. Give Dalton, give Coach Lewis and his staff 2 more years, and if it doesn't work out, then it's time. But I feel like we've been saying this the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm on the side of just blow it up for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Get a new head coach and some new young players in there, because this group, I don't think, has a chance to get it done.
I don't think they'll win a Super Bowl or anything, but I think they make the playoffs.
All right. Biggest surprise, though, from the head coaching hires?
Yeah, I went with Coach Arians retiring. He retired before Palmer did, then Palmer did, And then we see Fitz still there. I thought for sure those three would kind of retire the same year. I thought when Arians would decide, when Palmer and Fitz said they were ready to go, Arians would go with him because Arians was not going to start a rebuild in Arizona. I think we all knew that. He was too old. But I thought, you know what? You keep Palmer, you keep Fitz, you keep Arians, 1 more year, 2 more years, however long they want to play. And you just keep trying to work with what you have because all three have done so much for the city of Arizona in such a short time. Obviously Fitz throughout his career, but Palmer and Arians have rebuilt this hype around Arizona in that short amount of time where I thought for sure they would ride it out. But I didn't say it was a bad surprise. I love the hiring of Steve Wilkes. I think it's going to be fantastic for Arizona. He comes in, defensive coordinator, and I think he absolutely kills it in Arizona.
We will have to see about that. I think it depends if they can find a quarterback. If they do, Arizona is a great team.
Yeah.
If not, they're going to have a similar season to this one.
I think it's a sort of rebuild on offense, but you still have this great defense, similar to what the Broncos are going through, where you've got this such a good defense and you're just trying to tool up the pieces on offense.
Mm-hmm. They need a quarterback too.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what they do this offseason about that. My biggest surprise, though, was John Gruden leaving the booth. For every year since he's not been a head coach, everybody's been wondering when he's going to come back, who's going to hire him. This year, the Raiders finally got it done, and they only had to pay him $100 million to get him out of there. I think there's just no way that he lives up to that $100 million contract because that is just so much money. $100 million is a lot of cash, but I'm surprised that Gruden finally made the move to do it.
What would you consider living up to the $100 million contract?
1 Super Bowl and consistent playoff contention throughout the almost at least 8 of the 10 years, or 2 Super Bowls. $100 million is
you don't see it
a lot
happening?
of cash. No.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I would say those expectations are pretty realistic for me. I think 8 out of 10 years is a little high. I would say 6 or 7, but definitely Super Bowl. I don't think there's a debate about that, if not 2. But yeah, I think he lives up to it, and that's just where we differ there. I believe in Chucky coming back to Oakland, moving us to Vegas in a few years. It's going to be a great time. I love old Chucky, and, you know, I love when he said he never wanted to leave Oakland the first time. That's still baffling to me that they traded Gruden, and I don't know if you guys caught it, but Woodson asked him, is there a no-trade clause on his contract this time? And he said he hoped so or something like that. So all jokes now, but it was crazy when he left the first time. Hopefully we have him for 10 more years.
All right, and last thing for football.
Football.
The Pro Bowls this week.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. I absolutely hate the Pro Bowl. They play decent football for about a quarter, and then no one even tries. It's just the offense gets a free run to the end zone whenever they want it. It's just completely boring football. They have interviews with the players on the sidelines. It's not real football. Just have the skills competition, do something else, but don't advertise it as real football when it's not even close.
I don't mind it. I don't think it's good football by any means. Like I said, I don't go to it expecting Super Bowl type caliber, but I like seeing the personalities of the guys. That's my favorite thing. It throws me back to the NBA where you see the personalities and you see these guys just have a great time down in Hawaii or Orlando, wherever it is, and like skills competition, I thought was fantastic. I know there's been a lot of positive reviews on that. I think that was great last year. The game itself isn't great, but it's all the extra stuff with football, and that's what I like Pro Bowl weekend. If I had to make a pick, I'd go with the NFC. They're better conference, and they didn't lose that much from the Eagles. They only lost Wentz, who they already knew they were losing. They lost Fletcher Cox, few offensive linemen, and Zach Ertz. So I think they didn't lose as much as the AFC did with the Patriots. Now they got the Vikings, Saints, and Falcons, Rams, all of them retooled in the Pro Bowl. And so not that this pick actually means anything, but if I had to pick one, I'd go with the NFC.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the AFC. I think that they just have more talent top to bottom, and especially without Pittsburgh or Jacksonville in the Super Bowl, they got that Pittsburgh offense, Roethlisberger, Bell, and Brown on the defense. Obviously, Jacksonville's great defensive line, great cornerbacks. They'll all be there, and
I'm excited to see Le'Veon Bell and Jalen Ramsey and just that matchup that was so touted in the division round. Now they're teammates, and that's what I love about their Pro Bowl is just all those matchups. We're now the Vikings and Saints are teammates again after that crazy game. Now Breeze and Kyle Rudolph. That's just crazy, man. And that's where the personalities are so much more fun than the actual game because you get to see these guys are not just people behind a helmet. They're real fun. They're real fun guys just having a good time playing the sport they love. I love it.
All right, that's all we got for football today. Last but of course not least, Soarin Sports at Guaranteed. All right, welcome back for Soarin Sports at Guerin Catholic. Boys basketball last weekend had a great Saturday night with the Champions Together game. A great time for the fans and for the Special Olympics kids that got to come out and play a game at halftime, along with the cheerleaders too, brought in with the Guerin Catholic cheerleaders, and it was just a very fun night at Guerin Catholic last Saturday.
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously, we didn't get the result we wanted on the court from the team, but it was definitely fun just to see so many smiling faces and so many people happy and just having such a great time in a sport we all love in basketball. It was an amazing experience and definitely something we'll miss next year.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, the boys finished 0-2 on the weekend, losing to Brebeuf on Friday and Richmond at that Champions Together game on Saturday, but they have a chance to bounce back this Friday versus Lafayette Central Catholic at the Nest. Make sure you come out to support the boys.
Yeah, Mr. Sponhauer reffed the LCC game this past weekend and was telling us what we need to worry about with LCC. I was told their best player is the coach's son. You always love when you see that. So it should be a good game. It's at home, like you said. Survive till sunrise is later that night. It's my first time going. I think it's also yours. So it should be a great night, just like last weekend. And the season's getting down to crunch time. I'm excited. Jack Hansen, Zach Munson, Clay Hepp, and Drew Thiem. Their senior night coming up in the week after. So it's really just going to be a great time.
Yeah, and speaking of senior nights, last Saturday, also in the morning, the girls basketball team had their senior day, I guess. They picked up a win over Heron and a fun game.
Big win. It was, I know, Sophia Fernandez, I think, finished with 10 points is what I was told. It's good to see. Lexi Forder also put in a few baskets. And then, of course, Sydney Geis, leader of the team, Carly Hammond, and Danielle Mason. And Grace Hackett hit the three. That was my favorite part of it, was when Grace hit the three. That was awesome. So great job to those seniors who really have been a staple of the program since Coach Roth's been here. And, yeah, big win.
Yeah, and last but not least, we got some swimming results. Last weekend was the Circle City Conference meet. Our girls finished second. Our boys finished fifth. Congratulations to them on the meet.
Yeah, I know Kat Danaski, volleyball player, also won an event. I'm not sure why. I know nothing about swimming. And I know Mary Kate Klein won something. I think there was one other one, but I do not remember. So, yeah, I know good individual getting the medals, and then, of course, our girls team finishing second.
Yeah, great weekend for sports. Guerin Catholic this weekend, back in action. Make sure you tune in to the boys game. We'll be on the call, guerincatholic.faithnetwork.com, and it'll be a fun one this weekend.
All right, T-Mac, you going to shoot your paper like they do on the jump? Wow, here we go. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Follow at GC Broadcasting at the Sports Sermon, Sports with a Z, for all of our latest hot takes and information. We'll see you next week.
This is Sports